And one last time, here we go. Whoever you are, we welcome you. Wherever you come from, we welcome you. Whomever you love, we welcome you. Whomever you love, we welcome you.
Welcome to worship at the Unitarian Universalist Church of Kent, a spiritual home that welcomes all people of goodwill. Wherever you are this morning, we welcome you. May our time together be filled with joy, belonging, hope, and with the promise of who we can be together. I'm Reverend Christy Anderson, today's worship associate. We are joined by our music director, Hal Walker, who conceived of and organized today's Music Sunday service. We are thrilled to have with us today a special guest worship leader, songwriter and singer Peter Mayer.
I am so glad to welcome Peter Mayer here to our sanctuary this morning. We've heard Peter's songs many times in our church over the years, and I think as a congregation, we appreciate his music so much. I want to take this moment now to remember Harry Noden, who was a great supporter of music in our congregation, and I think fondly of Harry sitting in the back row there to the right, and how he just, when there was music happening in the congregation, he just had a wonderful smile. And thanks to the generosity of the Noden family, we have the Harry Noden Music Fund. And for the last year, we've been bringing musicians from all around the world to be part of our services. And thanks to the Harry Noden Fund, we have Peter Mayer here this morning. So with that said, I will ring a chime and we'll begin.
Thank you, Hal, and everybody. It's wonderful to be with you all this morning. Here's a song to begin called The Morning. See how the night is over, the dew is on the clover, the first light in the sky is forming. No foe am I afraid of, no force, for I am made of the same light that made the morning. See it come, the sun triumphant, splendid as 1,000 trumpets, rising on the rooftops and the trees, sweeping out the evening shadows, giving out its gleaming gold for free. I can't hold on to sorrow, it's always gone tomorrow, fading away at the first bird calling. There is hate, but there is more love. I know, for I am born of the same light that made the morning. So in the eastern sky you'll find me at the break of day, when I'll be back again to make another start. Coaxing open morning glories, telling hopeful stories of the heart. See how the night is over, the dew is on the clover, the first light in the sky is forming. No foe am I afraid of, no force, for I am made of the same light that made the morning, the same light that made the morning. Well, it's so nice to be with you all this morning. For the call to worship, I would like to share a meditation with you all by the Reverend Victoria Safford. It's called What Song? What if there were a cosmos, a universe that began in shining blackness, out of nothing, out of fire, out of a single silent breath, and into it came billions and billions of stars, stars beyond imagining, and near one of them a world, a blue-green world so beautiful that learned clergymen could not even speak about it cogently, and brilliant scientists, in trying to describe it, began to sound like poets with their physics, with their mathematics, their empirical, impressionistic musing. What if there were a universe in which a world was born out of a smallish star, and into that world, at some point, flew red-winged blackbirds, and into it swam sperm whales, and into it came crocuses and wind to lift the tiniest hairs on naked arms in spring when you run out to the mailbox, and into it at some point came onions out of soil, and came Mount Everest, and also the coyote we've been seeing in the woods about a mile from here, just after sunrise in these mornings when the moon is full. The very scent of him makes his brother, our dog, insane with fear and joy and ancient bred memory. Into that world came animals and elements and plants and imagination, the mind and the mind's eye. If such a universe existed and you noticed it, what would you do? What song would come out of your mouth? What prayer, what praises, what sacred offering, what whirling dance, what religion, and what reverential gesture would you make to greet that world every single day that you were in it? Come, let us worship together. And we are on this planet moving together. We didn't always know we were on a planet. We know we're on a planet now, and it's moving very fast. We're all turning around the axis of the Earth at 900 miles an hour and hurtling around our sun at 67,000 miles an hour together right now. So I thought it would be nice to celebrate that in a song, this morning. So this song is called Turn Me Earth. And it has a part in it for you if you so choose to join. I will teach it to you. Our parts are alternating, so I sing a line, then you sing a line in the verses. So I sing, turn me earth to a new sunrise, and you sing, turn me into the light of morning. And I sing, turn me earth when I close my eyes, and you sing, turn me into the night. So your lines are that, turn me into the light of morning, turn me into the night, and they alternate with mine. Secondly, on the chorus goes like this, and I'd like you to join with me on the chorus. Here's how it goes. Turn me, turn me, turn me into the morning light. Turn me, turn me, turn me into the night. Let's try that. Turn me, turn me, turn me into the morning light. Turn me, turn me, turn me into the night. Okay, that's all you need to know. Let's sing together. Turn me earth to a new sunrise. Turn me into the light of morn. Turn me earth when I close my eyes. Turn me into the night. Turn me earth to blackbirds trill. Turn me into the light of morn. Round again to the whippoorwill. Turn me into the night. Turn me, turn me, turn me into the morning light. Turn me, turn me, turn me into the night again. Turn me, turn me, turn me into the morning light. Turn me, turn me, turn me into the night. And as you're spinning light and dark, turn me into the light of morn. Turn me earth around your star. Turn me into the night. Through the seasons we will go. Turn me into the light of morn. Summer rain, winter snow. Turn me into the night. Turn me, turn me, turn me into the morning light. Turn me, turn me, turn me into the night again. Turn me, turn me, turn me into the morning light. Turn me, turn me, turn me into the night. Mother Earth, your child I am. Turn me into the light of morning. I was born for this dance. Turn me into the night. Around and around your sun we fly. Turn me into the light of morning. Thank you for this light. Turn me into the night. Turn me, turn me, turn me into the morning light. Turn me, turn me, turn me into the night. Turn me, turn me, turn me into the morning light. Turn me, turn me, turn me into the night. Turn me into the night. Turn me into the night. One more. Turn me into the night.
We join Unitarian Universalists across the country in lighting a chalice. I invite you to light your home chalice as I light this chalice. May the flame of the chalice kindle our ongoing search for the light of truth within us individually and among us. As Unitarian Universalists, we commit to a pledge of conduct based on the shared values of our faith tradition. Please join with me as together we read aloud the words of the covenant of our Unitarian Universalist faith. Love is the spirit of this church, and service its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. Peter Mayer will now offer our time for all ages.
Well, for this time, for all ages, I thought it would be nice to share a song that is, in a way, meant for the dedication of a child into the world, but I think it's also for all of us, celebrating the story that has brought us here, the universe that has brought us into being, and the earth that has brought us into being. We are connected to everything around us, and I'll talk about that more in my sermon, but sometimes these ways aren't apparent, but they're very, very deep. The air we breathe, to all of life on earth, is one family in a very real sense. We all descended from the same life. And so the story that has preceded us, all of the things that have preceded us, the story of life on earth, that's part of our story. And so I think it's wonderful to be able to celebrate that. And so this song does that. This is called Beautiful Child of the World. Come from the time before the universe was born, when there was a seed that it was inside, and then it all came crashing forth. You come from the great fire of stars, they made the atoms in your bones. They put a light inside of your heart, they put a brightness in your soul. You come from a stone's uncanny desire, beautiful yearning of the earth, beautiful longing to be alive, beautiful child of the world. You come from a vast family tree, you come from the first life to appear. You come from the land, you come from the sea, you come from 1,000 million years. You come from a fierce warrior song, a noble hunter's eyes. You come from love, tender and strong, compassionate and kind. You come from all the hopes and dreams and made your ancestors' hearts stir. They're beautiful passions, beautiful schemes, beautiful child of the world. You come from laughter and from tears, beautiful unexpected turns, from the sliver of chance that brought you here, beautiful child of the world. And you belong as much as the moon, as much as the morning unfurled, as much as the robin's beautiful tune, beautiful child of the world. And all of the 1,000 beautiful parts of the story of your birth are singing together the song that you are, beautiful child of the world.
Each week, we take time to embrace our church family and bring to mind the others in our lives for whom we care. Let us join together now in solemn recognition of our sorrows and losses. I invite you into a brief time of silence. Use this as an opportunity to pray, meditate, or contemplate the needs of yourself and others, known or unknown, and radiate outward the power of your healing love. Let us share in silence. I ask you to hold in your hearts longtime members Pat and Bill Eldridge, the benefactors of our annex next door. Sadly, Bill is receiving care from hospice. I have been asked to share the news that Diana and Dave Watt are grieving the loss of Dave's beloved sister Carol. She died unexpectedly following a brain aneurysm. Dave and Diana, we convey peace and comfort to you during this difficult time. I invite you to use the chat box to share with one another the heaviness that weighs upon your heart. Marianne Casper asks us to please keep Carol Gould in our thoughts as she spent the night in Summa Hospital with abdominal discomfort. We pray for healing and comfort for Carol. Kara Kramer shares that her cousin Evan is in ICU with COVID. We hope for a speedy recovery for Evan. Deborah Lynn Hook asks or notes for the rich life and legacy of my friend's father, Ed Bixenstein, who contributed much to the Kent community before dying in his home this week at age 94. Jill Forsmans asks us to keep Rebecca Benner in our thoughts as she's staying in the hospital following surgery with complications. Many of us know Rebecca, member of the Akron UU Church, and someone who has been very active at Summer Institute and has shared her drumming with us. We hope for her speedy recovery. Saunas notes that her mother-in-law, Amelia Parsons, loses more and more of herself to Alzheimer's disease. Very difficult, Saunas. We hold you and Ted in our hearts. Renee Werhotsky is holding the Welch family in her prayers as Samantha died unexpectedly this week. Renee, may you and the Welch family find peace and comfort. Ellen McWilliams Woods asked for prayers for the sister and brother of her mother's caregiver. Both are in the hospital. For those whose names were shared and for the names of others we hold silently in our hearts, let us join in a time of prayer. Spirit of life and love, our hearts are heavy as we bear the pain of personal loss and the suffering of others. In particular, we lift up those throughout the world who are suffering from the devastating effects of the COVID virus. May they be endowed with strength and healing. We also lift up our African American sisters and brothers who experienced emotional upheaval and trauma during the trial to convict George Floyd's murderer. This week demonstrated an instance of accountability for which we are gratified. However, a declaration of victory over racial injustice is not within easy grasp. May Mr. Floyd's death be not in vain, but rather, may it ignite a call to action within each of us, prompting us to act with deliberation, to dismantle the man-made evils of racism and poverty. Let us come together and fortify our strength. May we find strength in knowing that we are not alone. May we find strength in practicing gratitude for our many blessings. May we find strength by being mindful of the goodness found in the world, goodness that is manifested daily in human acts, small and large, acts of kindness, forgiveness, rescue, reconciliation. With renewed strength, may we extend the powerful healing force of love to ourselves and to those who sorrow. May we be comforted in remembering that we are part of a larger web of sentient creations, that we are surrounded by earthly beauty, and that we are the embodiment of the miracle of existence itself. Amen. Now I invite you to place your joys into the chat box. From the UU Church of Kent, from Jen and Lois. They are celebrating Connor's graduation from Otterbein University next Sunday. Congratulations to Connor and family. Cheryl Sporer shares that her older brother is home from the hospital. He has COVID and cannot see anyone for 2 weeks. Cheryl, we're glad he's home and wish him a speedy recovery. Michelle Boris says that she got to hug Val after more than a year and got hugs and kisses from Addie and Maul too, Val's grandchildren. So it's wonderful to be sharing hugs, isn't it? Trudy Deal shares a joy that her sister had a good visit with her father, the first in over 10 years due to their strained relationship. Oh, Trudy, that I'm sure is good news for you. Deborah Lynn Hook is joyful for the wall coming down between up and downstairs in her house as they are vaccinated. She shares that she too had a first hug in a year, and we received Friday night karaoke, or revived, I'm sorry. So happy for you, Deborah Lynn, and your family. Trish McLaughlin shares that Benny is receiving chess lessons. Well, Benny, we know that you will eventually become a master. We give thanks for these abundant blessings and for this time together to share, learn, and re-energize. In gratitude, we say Amen.
Well, it's a privilege to be able to share a few thoughts with you this morning. What I'd like to do is share half of my sermon and then break for a little song and finish the sermon after that. I was once at a UU coming of age service where the 9th grade boys and girls who were in the program were making statements about what they believe. One of the quotes was something like, "As far as what the truth is about different religions, I guess I just don't know. And not knowing seems to be what UUism is all about." I thought a lot about this. We UUs are indeed famous for not being quite sure what we believe. There are jokes you may have heard about what happens when you cross a Jehovah's Witness with a Unitarian Universalist, and the answer is that you get a person who goes around knocking on doors for no apparent reason. I've puzzled a lot about what exactly it is that UUism represents. When I first discovered it, it seemed so different from the Roman Catholicism I grew up with. It contained no central mythology, no creed or statement of belief in any kind of supernatural order. It offered no God. It guaranteed no afterlife. I wondered, was this even a religion? And what was holding it together? I would like to suggest that perhaps what UUs are about lies not so much in what we don't know, but in what we do know. Let me explain what I mean. Throughout our history, UUs have always had a sort of cranky empiricism. There is another joke about us that we often read ahead in the hymnal so we can determine whether or not in good conscience we can sing the lyrics that are coming up. We are very serious about the truth of things. And here's something most of us seem to agree on. If something can't be shown to be true based on good evidence, then we shouldn't try to build a religion on it. So, if we can't have all the beliefs and promises that many religions have, then what is left for us? Well, what we do know is what is left. And this is, I think, one of the defining traits of Unitarian Universalism. We build on what we know to be true, not on what we don't. Some religions favor beliefs over and even against empirical knowledge, but not UUism. It seems to me that what we know comes first, and everything follows from that. And whatever follows, whatever beliefs or rituals or spiritual practices we embrace, must not contradict common knowledge, but rather flow out of it and hearken back to it. Does this sound like a religion without mysticism and inspiration, without the transcendent experiences that so many of us hope for in a religious practice? I would like to suggest just the opposite, that what we now know to be true about the world, excuse me, I turned 2 pages instead of 1. What we now know about the world is so vast and mysterious in its scope, from the subtle intricacies and inner workings of a living cell to the unimaginable immensity and age of the universe, that every effort we can make to learn about it can only lead to a sense of reverence, awe, and wonder. So, what do we know? Well, we certainly can't cover it all here, but one important thing we know is that we are alive. Perhaps this is our best good news. We are alive and awake in the universe, and this, we know, is an astonishing thing. We also know that we are blood relatives with every other living thing on earth, every plant, animal, bacterium, and fungus, and that every living thing descended from the same microscopic organisms that were alive on earth nearly 4,000 million years ago. We didn't always know this, and most of our religions were created long before we discovered it. And even though this truth is incredibly profound with all sorts of implications about who and what we are, still many of our faith traditions do not even include it in their understanding of the world, nor acknowledge or celebrate it. It seems that our spiritual lives haven't yet caught up with the amazing things we have discovered. We also know that evolution is the process by which all life is related, and yet some of our religions today deny evolution altogether, even though there is as much evidence for it as there is for the theory of gravity. To deny evidence is a curious and sometimes troubling capacity that we humans have. Look at global warming, for example. Although it enjoys the weight of scientific consensus, still many of us simply choose not to believe it. Ignoring facts like this creates a very distorted and dangerous map by which to navigate our future. And it points to the need for religion that starts first and foremost with what we can say is true to the best of our knowledge. What else do we know? We know that each one of us is a community of trillions of living organisms, many of whom still resemble their ancient ancestors, which are cooperating in complicated ways to make you and me. And we are learning that even though evolution has given us the drive to compete, it has also perhaps even more powerfully given us the desire to cooperate and nurture and love and live in community with others. We are learning that human beings love not in spite of our genetic inheritance, but because of it. Nature itself has taught us to love and to practice empathy. Why? Because we need each other to live and to thrive. What else do we know? We know that we are on a planet. This seems like an obvious fact, but we didn't always know this, and most of our religions were created long before we discovered it. Our whole worldview as humans was based on the idea that we are at the center of everything and that the sky and all of creation was turning around us. But one of the early gifts of science gave us was the news that we are doing the turning, spinning around our axis, hurtling around our sun, soaring even faster around the center of our galaxy. We also now know that our galaxy isn't the only galaxy, that there are hundreds of billions of them, and they are all moving and expanding apart from one another. Indeed, we know that everything is in motion, from the very smallest particles in the atoms of our bodies to the immense universe itself. We know that everything is changing as well, not static and eternal as the old model suggested. Even Einstein didn't believe this at first. We now know that the universe actually had a beginning. It began 13.8 thousand million years ago as a speck smaller than an atom, into which all of us were squished in our primordial form, and which at some point exploded and expanded with unimaginable force and speed. We know that the atoms that we are made of were mostly made in the furnaces of stars. We are made of star stuff. We didn't always know this astonishing truth, and most of our religions still don't regard it as central to their beliefs and practices. Perhaps we feel that it's beside the point, but I don't think it is. I think of it as the sacred story of our lives. When I was a boy, each week, on Sunday we would go to church, pay attention to the priest. He would read the holy word, consecrate the holy bread, and everyone would kneel and bow. Today the only difference is everything is holy now. Everything is holy now. And when I was in Sunday school, we would learn about the time Moses split the sea in two. Jesus made the water wine. And I remember feeling sad. Miracles don't happen still. But now I can't keep track, 'cause everything's a miracle. Everything's a miracle. Wine from water is not so small, but an even better magic trick is that anything is here at all. So the challenging thing becomes not to look for miracles, but finding where there isn't one. When holy water was rare at best, it barely wet my fingertips, but now I have to hold my breath like I'm swimming in a sea of it. It used to be a world half there, heaven's second-rate hand-me-down, but I walk it with a reverent air, 'cause 'cause everything is holy now. Everything is holy now. Read a questioning child's face. Say it's not a testament. That'd be very hard to say. See another new morning come. Say it's not a sacrament. Tell you that it can't be done. This morning outside I stood, saw a little red-winged bird shining like a burning bush, singing like a scripture verse. It made me want to bow my head. I remember when church let out, how things have changed since then. Everything is holy now. Used to be a world half there, heaven's second-rate hand-me-down. But I walk it with a reverent air, 'cause everything is holy now. What else do we know? We know that the earth itself is 4,500 million years old, that people descended from primates in Africa, and that we modern humans have been here for perhaps 100,000 years, which is really just an eye blink in the vast history of our planet. We know that we most likely wouldn't be here if an asteroid hadn't struck the earth and caused the dinosaurs to become extinct. Indeed, we know that our existence is dependent on all that has preceded us, all that has happened leading up to now, and that our lives are brief events in the immense scope of things. One difficult thing we know is that life needs death in order to make itself anew, which does not bode well for our prospects for personal immortality. But it does mean that we have the opportunity to be alive at all, because without death, none of us would be here. We know that we are not really better than anything else in creation, but it is possible to see that we have a special role, a role of discovering and giving names to things, of piecing together the story of creation and celebrating it. We can say that the universe becomes awake and aware of itself through us. We have the role of loving each other, trying to make life fair and equitable for all, and caring for the earth. And now, with our capacity to destroy, we have the planet itself in our hands, and so have the very important role of striving to protect and preserve its life systems. And here is a great truth that we know, which is expressed in all the other things we have learned. We are profoundly interconnected. We are indeed one with each other and with everything around us in ways that are very important, but not always very apparent. And here, I think, is where religion comes in. Religions have always told a particular story about the world, of what it means to be human. Who and what are we? How should we live? What does life mean? And whatever that sacred central story is, it is committed to heart by those who follow that faith, told and retold, studied and discussed endlessly, and revisited every Saturday or Sunday morning. Why? Because it is of utmost importance, and it's not something you just tend to know intuitively. If you grow up Christian or Muslim, you don't automatically know the story of Jesus or Muhammad. You must learn it, and then ideally study it the rest of your life in order to live more fully out of it. And so it is with the great truths that we now know. The fact that we are on a planet is not an intuitive thing. We don't feel it moving. And so we have to remind ourselves of this if we are to live more deeply out of it. We must use our imaginations to try and grasp what is actually real. It is the same with many other of these aspects of our existence. We must learn about evolution and the interconnectedness of life, about deep time and the forces that brought us here, and then try to live out of those ideas and let them sink more deeply into us by way of ritual and meditation, poetry and metaphor, and discussion and support in our communities. This is the way we create a good and accurate map of reality by which to navigate our future and make the right choices so that life will flourish. When I grew up, every year at Easter time, my family attended the most important liturgy of the whole year, the Easter Vigil. It happened at midnight, and the whole church at one point became completely dark. This was Catholic Church, by the way. This is big stuff for a kid in the pews, sitting in a full church at midnight in silence with the lights out. Then the Paschal fire, the light of Christ, was dramatically lit at the back of the church, and its light slowly grew as the flame was passed candle to candle to each person until the whole sanctuary glowed. I'll never forget that magical feeling. That great light appearing in the darkness and then spreading to each one of us so that each of us were a part of it. The over 2-hour liturgy featured readings and songs from our whole history, going back to Genesis, Abraham, Moses, and finally Jesus. This was our entire salvation story. But given how my own beliefs have changed since then, where do I go now with my own children so that they can feel the magic and the power of their own story? Where do I go to light a great fire in the darkness? A great fire that represents the Big Bang, or the first life on Earth, or the first time that human beings appeared in Africa. This is our sacred story. To know it is to feel at home in the world, to feel like we belong here, to feel connected to everything around us. The word religion, after all, means to reconnect, to find happiness and meaning in our lives. I believe it has the power to comfort and inspire us, to give us strength in living, to help us love one another and grow our circle of compassion and empathy, to act with wisdom, and to just be excited to be here, to be a part of it all. I believe that our UU religion can help us do that. Our openness and interest in incorporating new discoveries and current understandings of the world into our worship and teachings is important in this regard, to help develop a kind of spiritual vocabulary for the many intellectual things that we are all learning, and help orient our hearts and our actions to them, to create rituals, liturgies, spiritual practices that celebrate what we know to be true and to bring it alive in our imaginations. In the meditation I shared earlier by Victoria Safford, she asked, quote, "What if there were a universe, a cosmos that began in shining blackness, out of nothing, out of fire, out of a single silent breath, and into it came billions and billions of stars, and red-winged blackbirds, and sperm whales and crocuses, onions out of soil, and Mount Everest, and the mind, and the mind's eye. If such a universe existed, and you noticed it, what would you do? What song would come out of your mouth? What prayer? What praises? What sacred offering? What whirling dance? What religion? And what reverential gesture would you make to greet that world every single day that you are in it? Statistics show that the church going is on the decline in the West. Maybe this is because people are finding a sense of community in places like Facebook instead. Or maybe it is a problem of content. Maybe people feel that the reality of the world that they are living in is not reflected in the church they attend each Sunday. And in closing, I'd like to share a quote with Carl Sagan, who said, "A religion, old or new, that stressed the magnificence of the universe as revealed by modern science might be able to draw forth reserves of reverence and awe hardly tapped by conventional faiths. Sooner or later, such a religion will emerge." Amen.
As we come to the close of our time of worship, I invite you to remain online and join in our informational meeting. As we extinguish our chalices, I invite you to join me in reading aloud these words. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. May we carry these in our hearts and minds until we are together again. I invite you to lift your voices and join in singing one of our favorite hymns, the beloved song written by Peter Mayer, Blue Boat Home.
Low below me I feel no motion, standing on these mountains and plains, far away from the rolling ocean. Still my dry land heart can say, I've been sailing all my life now, never harbor or port have I known. The wide universe is the ocean I travel, and the earth is my blue boat home. Sun my sail, moon my rudder, as I ply the starry sea, leaning over the edge in wonder, casting questions into the deep, drifting here with my ship's companions, all we kindred pilgrim souls, making our way by the light of the heavens in our beautiful blue boat home. I give thanks to the waves upholding me, hail the great winds urging me on, greet the infinite sea before me, sing the sky my sailor's song. I was born upon the fathoms, never harbor or port have I known. The wide I travel, and the earth is my blue boat home.
We give thanks to the waves upholding us. We hail the great winds urging us on. We greet the infinite sea before us, and we sing the sky our sailor's song. We were born upon the fathoms, never harbor or port have we known. The wide universe is the ocean we travel, and the earth is our blue boat home. Go in peace.